move that in my direction. So thankful for that, it's such a blessing, yeah. Turn every situation into heaven, yeah. Oh, you are my sunrise on the darkest day. Got me feeling some kind of way. Make me wanna savor every moment slowly, slowly. You fit me, telling me love how you put it on. Got the...
Welcome, friends, family, and Podcast
Nation. Podcast Nation.
We are back. The Spock Dron Show, coming to you not quite live, 12 hours earlier than you're going to see it. Season 3, Year 7 of the Jedi Council.
Yeah, what a 3 years it's been on having the show with you. Wouldn't rather have it with anybody else.
Amen to that. Again, we apologize for the late initial episode. We've had some house issues. We were dealing with a house fire the other day and a few rabid dogs actually the other night. So we've been kind of up to our ears in deep water, if you will.
Yes, we have. So this year our show is going to be presented to you by DraftKings. They're our big sponsor. We're coming to you live 12 hours late from the DraftKings studio, as you can see.
Yeah, they've been a key sponsor, I think, from pretty much episode 1. They invested a nice sum of money right away. I can't blame them, seeing as they make billions every year. Guys, get out there, play DraftKings. I mean, personally, I've never won any money in this league. 7 years straight I've thrown money away, but I've made each cent back by playing DraftKings every single week. You know, you're playing against the lowest of the lows,
Yeah.
if you will. So I encourage you guys to go out and make an account. You can first $10 is matched, I think. Start doubling up your money.
There's no season-long commitment. Create a fresh lineup whenever you like. Register 8, 9, 10 times, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it's
more contests, more chances to win.
So, we'll jump right into it. Why don't we start off with the reigning champ? It's, we don't need a guest speaker, seeing as the reigning champ is a co-host on this podcast. How do you feel? What's it been like for holding on that trophy for a year?
Feels good. I've been keeping it nice and clean. I clean it weekly. I don't know, though. With being at the top, there's a lot of people that look up to me. That puts a big target on my back. And there's been some people, trashing me for how I came to my championship last year. And I've been dealing with the repercussions of that.
I'd say it's almost ironic with the politics in America, if you will, early on, the Trump, the Hillary things, and then we kind of jump right into the politics in our league between people accusing you of wrongdoing. You say that you did nothing wrong. You believe you did nothing wrong. It's been interesting.
In an era of fake news, what do you know anymore?
What do you know? It's a darn shame. Yeah. Do you think you can be the first to repeat in the Jedi Council? I know Aditya has won twice, but he did not repeat. We've never had a repeat champion.
I'm going to give it my best. So, moving on. For our new viewers, let's just introduce ourselves real quick. Spock, Believe Text Messages is my team name this year, in honor of Ezekiel. I like to live by the motto innocent until proven guilty.
Which is tough in this day and age. Some would almost say you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, right you are. So, John, I already gave a little bit about myself. I want to know what you have been up to in this off-season.
Yeah. Just like I said, for the new viewers, I'm Dron, co-host here with Spock, and my team name this year is Good Morning, Gil.
Good morning,
For
Gil.
those of you who don't know the reference, it is from one of my favorite movies, What About Bob? I advise all of you to go watch it if you haven't seen it yet. And it's been an interesting year of fantasy. I decided to check out a bit and take a step back. I was in first year of being a part of 3 leagues, and it was a bit overwhelming at times. And I think I burned out a bit, which. I decided not to do much studying, much kind of reviewing the rookies, the incoming draft class, and just kind of winging it. And it hasn't been bad. I'm happy with my team, my draft, and I'm excited again for the season to start.
So in the off season, though, I'm curious, what were you doing between last season of the Spock Dron Podcast and today?
Yeah, and none of you even realized what went on. We kind of kept it a secret because we were required to, but we both applied for a internship with. We both applied to ESPN and Fox Sports for their podcast branch, their sports shows, if you will, like First Take and whatnot. And I got it with Fox Sports, and I actually Skip Bayless mentored me all summer in doing podcasts, what it's like, what you look for, the animation you want to include, what you get excited about, kind of the camaraderie you have with a co-host.
Right, and John already kind of mentioned this, but I myself in the off-season been bouncing around the sports media world. Stephen A. Smith has had me personally on his radio show a number of times. And then, I don't know if you know Brian Windhorst of ESPN. That's where I've been doing most of my work. Okay. There's a lot of reporting for the Cavs, but I was actually one of his sources for the off-season happenings. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So what's that like? Because I always look at Adam Schefter is his name. And he's always pulling out his dual phones, and it just kind of seems like a show. So, I mean, are sources a real thing? Or are you getting news from kind of secret contacts, if you will, ahead of the game?
Well, I've already told you too much, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Fair enough, as long as you don't pull out two phones and act like you're getting hit up. So, yeah, it was a summer of learning. I think we've got a whole new show for you this year. We're going to take a lot of big steps forward, so we'll jump into it.
Let's start out with a draft recap. We had our draft last week, Tuesday or Wednesday. And let me just pull this up here because I don't have it memorized.
Yeah. So for you new viewers, we do a snake draft, not an auction draft, which I know is popular in some fantasy leagues. And we base our picks off March Madness brackets. So depending on how you do in our March Madness pool, you get to choose your draft pick. 2 years consecutive, I got last place, so I've been 12th pick 2 years in a row. But yeah, so we'll jump right into round one. An interesting fact with round one, they say 40 to 50% of your first picks. So 4 to 5, 6 picks in the first round are busts. Yeah. And
year in and year out, we do see that. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like throwing a dart at a board,
Mm-hmm.
Bust, no bust, mediocrity.
Yeah, and it's coincidentally was proven in week one right away with our very first pick, David Johnson, going out with a what seems like some ligament tendon damage. Going to have surgery. Week 12, 13, 14 is.
Bruce Arians said he'll be back by Christmas, which is week 16.
Which is kind of nothing.
Our championship. And do you really want to start a rusty David Johnson?
We all know what those running backs do in the offseason. A lot of them get fat. Eddie Lacy, for example. Jonathan Stewart. So.
Tolbert.
Oh, man. That guy's a thick brick wall. So, Underwood, upset special, who hasn't changed his name yet, you should do that, drafted D. Johnson, and he is already looking like possibly needing to drop him for a potential,
flyer, anything, kicker.
Going to do nothing for him. So that's rough. I feel for him. He moved away to a new city. It's got to be hard, and then he loses his best and probably the best player in the league.
Yep.
Within minutes, if you will.
Fantasy football is a fickle biatch.
So, regarding round one, if you were to pick 4 or so more players to be bust in your eyes, who do you see as not living up to potential, not living up to...
I would say DeMarco Murray. I'm sorry, I see that you picked him, but he does have a very talented player in Derrick Henry biting at the bit.
Which upset special also just dropped.
Interesting. So yes, Derrick Henry is chomping at the bit to get more carries. Mm-hmm. He's a very talented player. I think he does have a high likelihood in my mind. What about you?
A lot of people say Melvin Gordon. I will never say a bad word against Melvin Gordon. He is probably a top 3 fantasy player in all 7 years of playing in this league for me last year. He holds a special place in my heart. But Shady McCoy, he gets the carries, he gets the yards, and he seems to always get you the amount of points that you need. But I don't see it this year. He's 1 year older. That offense is 1 year more mature. I think they have added a lot more weapons, and their rookie running back, who I'm blanking on, already in week 1 got, I believe, 7 or so carries, and the head coach is saying that he's going to continue getting more carries. So I'm prone to believe that this is Shady McCoy's kind of exit year.
I think so. We're both in agreement that there's guys that could overtake the starters, and we see that a lot in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of those guys could be the waiver wire pickup of the year in our league.
There's always someone you pick up off the waiver that ends up as a top 12 fantasy player. So
okay. I just want to do one more segment in relation to our draft. I want to talk about players that we could consider diamonds in the rough, who went later than they probably should have.
Yes.
Do you have anybody off the top of your head? Otherwise, I can start if you want to look at the draft board.
I was so high on A-Rob having a bounce back year.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he would have. That offense is maturing. They have I believe Fournette would be their running back. Am I correct in that for
yes,
Jacksonville?
Leonard.
I think he's a player that can change that offense. It can revolve around him, opening up things for Blake Bortles to once again become the Pro Bowl quarterback that he once was, meaning more touches for A-Rob. Unfortunately, he has torn his ACL and out. So,
I was talking about diamonds in the rough, so players that are still...
I still believe he could have been a diamond.
Oh,
I'm
so
going to stick by him.
So you're saying in a perfect world,
I feel for
our
him.
ACLs didn't snap.
Correct.
Okay.
An iRobot world, if you will.
It's a world I'd like to live in.
Shout out to Will Smith.
And
the whole guy, I can't remember his name. Shia LaBeouf.
Dr. Ford.
And Dr. Ford. R.I.P.
So my steal of the draft, I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook, drafted at pick number 43, right around his ADP, by Rhett Jackson.
What a Monday night.
Amazing shoe. Yeah, he looked like a true bell cow out there.
It sucks to talk so highly of this Vikings team, but I love that Dalvin Cook pick. Thielen, Diggs, Bradford, with an already top 5 defense.
Yeah.
Great.
Brand, 1-year-old stadium, right? Was it new last year?
Yeah. Super
Pretty
Bowl's
darn new.
They're this year or next, I can't recall, but I still believe in the Lions.
Oh, yes. And we will get to our beloved Lions later on in the show. We have something special in store. So Rhett, shout out for drafting Dalvin Cook. He looks like if we did a redraft, he would be first, second rounder.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think he has top 15 RB1 potential. A lot of rookies. I mean, you look at Kareem Hunt, you look at Fournette. It's going to be a big year for the rookie running back. That's for sure. Moving on, we are going to jump into our favorite and least favorite teams for possible championship runs. This league has been, historically, there's kind of been the 2 or 3 bottom feeders year in, year out, and the ones who are always fighting for a playoff spot and a possible championship run. And I think it's going to kind of stay that way this year. I see upset special sitting on the bottom, especially after that David Johnson loss. I love the guy, but he picked that name for a reason, and you're only going to be an upset if you're a bad team beating a good team. So he'll get his wins here and there, but I think he's going to be on the low end of the league.
No, I would definitely agree with that analysis. I'm going to go ahead and switch it up and say one team that I really do like, and that is Gurley's Gone Wild. Our one and only commissioner, I think he drafted a very solid squad. So just looking at it, Russell at quarterback, I don't know how I feel about that after week 1. He's a bounce-back candidate, maybe hit the waiver wire. But then at running back, he's very strong with Devonta and Kareem. Golden Tate at wide receiver, PPR monster. And I think Galladay being able to stretch the field helps him even more. And look, he's starting Gurley in his flex. Gurley gets the volume to be a good running back in the association, the league. But at the same time, he did average just 2.5 yards per carry in week 1. That's concerning.
He had a lot of points. He got his touchdown, but you think of Gurley as a big, rough running back who's going to break the tackles, and you just don't see that like you do with even Kareem Hunt now, or a DeMarco Murray, or a Zeke Elliott. They're breaking the tackles, and it seems like Gurley kind of goes down like he's playing in the lingerie league. So he's in his flex, so props to him. the commission always seems to set the bar
He does.
of who's going to be good, and then those below him. So I agree with that pick. Another bottom feeder, I think. I still believe he got lucky with his championship. I'm not sure how it happened, but the one and only Jay Glover. Sorry, brother, but I think you're going to be down there with upset special. And for those of you who don't know, we're referencing you by your real name if you have not changed your fantasy name yet. So I guess I should start saying Brandon Underwood instead of upset special. Any others you think that may make a championship run before we move on?
Contenders. I think you and I are both up there for sure, like always. What was the other one that I liked?
Rookies don't do podcasts.
No. I was gonna say a DT, but looking at, he definitely has some holes.
It looks like med school has taken over his life.
Or
Between that and surviving Irma down in the Caribbean, I don't think he was ready for this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let his team speak for himself. So,
not sure who's going to make the championship run. Again, I think we're both going to be contenders, but who I would really like to see up there is Jake Austin. I think he's got the potential of his older brother, our commissioner, and they always say that the youngest sibling is the shining star. So I think there's potential for him to blow his brother out of the water, really compete this year, and
he has all the tools to be a great manager, but is he going to take them out of the shed and put them to use? Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Best of luck to you, Justin. So that is our draft recap. A blast as always. We're looking forward to it for about a month. The second we're off the sets, it's all we're talking about.
Boom.
And
in our schedules, in our phones, in our planners.
Just don't set it for 2 minutes next time because that was overwhelming. I got distracted. I couldn't keep focused on who I was going to draft next. I was waiting 2 minutes because Rhett took 2 minutes every time. Bandy took 2 minutes every time. And it's like, prepare yourself and get your picks out.
Come on, man.
So, time for a little news and notes from around the league. Starting off with injuries, we've touched on a lot of significant ones. You want to lead us off with the,
Well, obviously, the most valuable player of last season, David Johnson. He's out for, 8 to 12 weeks, a good chunk of time.
It's a bummer because he was maybe the most exciting running back behind Le'Veon Bell to watch last year.
Truly electric. And he's a good guy. Doesn't talk much trash, very humble. I like to see that out of the star players, as opposed to the Antonio Browns who are twerking and...
Exactly. And it's, he's a fellow teammate of the local Grand Rapids star, Jared Valdier. And we can only help but root for those who come from Grand Rapids.
That's right.
So it's a bummer for him as well. Another big one we touched on was Allen Robinson, one of the receivers. Torn ACL, he's out. And it'll be interesting to see if he comes back from that. A lot of players kind of are on the downslope after they ruined that knee.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Along with that, Julian Edelman busted his knee, tore his MCL and MCL, I believe, done for the season. And you could tell in their first game with the Patriots.
Yeah, yep. So the Patriots are off to an 0-1 start. They'll be facing, I believe it's the Saints. And I'm gonna sorry to put you on the spot, but ask you a trivia question.
Yeah.
When was the last time the Pats started out 0-2?
Last time the Pats started out 0-2, it was, I don't believe it was Belichick days. Am I right in that?
You are, I don't even know what year Belichick started.
That's fair. I believe early 2000s is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to say 03, 04, one of those 2 years.
That was very close. It's 2001. So that was back when a dozen eggs cost 90 cents.
Gas was under $1.
Yeah, there was also a series of anthrax attacks that spread fear amongst the American public, and several people were infected by handling mail. So that's your random fact of the day.
Interesting you say that. I mean, that was a crazy year. You had 9/11, you had that anthrax attack, you had TB12 not starting, he was backing up whoever the quarterback was then. You almost think Y2K really affected us. I mean, we thought the world was ending.
Yeah. But here we are in 2017, chugging along. Season 3.
So, other injuries, we have OBJ did not play the first week. that kind of sucks for a first-round draft along with Mike Evans and Jay Ajayi. I know they aren't injured, but they had to deal with Hurricane Irma. It's tough when your 3 of the first-round picks are sitting week 1. I mean, that's kind of the rock of your team. So.
Something that we didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
When you draft a player in the first round, you do not expect them by any means to sit out in the first week. Otherwise, it would probably slip.
Yeah.
The second, third, fourth.
Absolutely. And then Brittlebone Woodhead.
Yeah, Mr. Glass.
It's a shame. He looked good. And, I think Flacco could have made him an exciting player in that offense. So we'll see what happens in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and he comes back and see what he does. And, last but not least, our Mr. Badass, who is probably not technically injured, but was injured, Mr. J.J. Watt, raised $12 million for Hurricane Irma. Something like that. His goal was a couple $100,000, I believe. So, his bone popped out of his finger. He taped it up, and he kept playing. And he's kind of a symbol of the league of badassery.
Badassery, yeah. J.J. Watt, the man himself. One of the most badass players in the league. And I think this is less relevant because it's another defensive player. I don't even know his name. I saw it on ESPN. Some dude on his team got suspended for PEDs. As we know, those are illegal in the league.
Could you elaborate on PEDs for those who are less educated?
Performance-enhancing drugs. So when you get up to be 34, 35, you lose your ability to recover as easily from week to week. Mm-hmm. So people are pressured to get a little help from...
a lot of different things are covered in that, whether it's steroids, energy drugs, prescription drugs, the C4s of the world, pre-workout. And I can only imagine what it's like to be a mid-30s man, body beating up, expectations high.
Brian Cushing is his name. Yes, it would be very tempting. And for all those who are criticizing him, I mean, you're not an NFL player. You're not dealing with chronic pain.
Celebrity status, high expectations. I mean, it's got to be a tough world. I know they're making their millions, but I think a lot of them deserve it. Moving on, we've touched on it a bit. Thoughts and prayers for those affected by Hurricane Irma. I know it has affected the league with Tampa Bay and the Miami Dolphins not playing Week 1 because of it, but it has reached well beyond the fantasy football and NFL world. And I think it's our duty to reach out and help in whatever way we can. The Caribbean has been affected, the Southern Florida, Key West area. It's a shame,
It's devastating. And I can't imagine living there, even watching from up north. It's been difficult for me. I have friends and family down there who were affected, who were displaced from their homes, who lost power. So I think the least we could do is give back. So for our viewers out there, one way that you can give back is to text Harvey, HARVEY, to 90999.
Mm-hmm.
Donate $10 to hurricane relief. I'm actually doing that right now.
I appreciate that. I think we all should feel the need to give back. I am on the board of a nonprofit called First Hand Aid for humanitarian aid for the Cubans. And little do we realize how affected Cuba was. Havana has been flooded pretty much where we stay. All water is contaminated, and the food services that the government provide is non-existent at the moment. Many people are displaced, so if you feel the need to donate, I encourage you to go to First Hand Aid. Type it into Google. Their site will pop up right away, and there will be a section to donate. It would be much appreciated. They could use that money as well. So our thoughts and prayers with all those affected. Moving on, we are going to jump into our Week 1 waiver wire recap. Crazy Week 1. Some ballsy moves by not only my co-host, but Mr. Brandon Friedel as well, who some would say has made past irrational fantasy decisions, and I think possibly did this year as well. But why don't we talk about your first pickup?
I don't know. I was really eyeing Tariq Cohen, and old Daddy Warbucks over here dropped 61% of his fab to ensure that Tariq landed on my team, and he did. But looking back, hindsight is 20/20. I probably could have bidded 20, 25, 30 and still got him. But I didn't want to be in a position of regret.
And as we touched on earlier, there is always at least one waiver wire pickup who ends up as a Tier 1 player, a top 12 to 15 player.
And I saw flashes of potential in Tariq's game tape. I saw him demonstrate amazing bursts of speed. He got 12 targets. 12 targets as a running back.
He reminded me a lot of a young rookie Darren Sproles. I think he's got the potential to be a incredible player.
Shifty, good vision.
And probably the only playmaker on that poor Bears offense.
Oh, you can't forget Jordan Howard.
You know, I was disappointed.
You were.
I've got him in one of my other leagues, and I'm regretting that pick. It's going to be tough for that offense to produce anything fantasy relevant.
Well, their line, I think, is above average, so we have hope as Howard and Cohen owners, but that's about all we have. We don't have, if you had another top-tier running back running behind a better line, you kind of have confidence starting him.
Absolutely.
We only have hope.
Absolutely. All in all, we're happy to see that the Bears are awful, because no one hates the Bears more than us Lions fans and Chicago haters. So, moving on, Bandy.
Yeah, Bandy.
Was the next highest bidder.
What did he bid? Old Kerwin Williams. Bandy bid 38% of his fab budget.
And it's frustrating. I mean, I would say we are in what would be considered an elite league in the tier of fantasy football leagues across the country, and we all watched the game. We saw how poor Arizona was, and they weren't even that great when David Johnson was in the game. And we know what they do when David Johnson out. It's a committee back.
It's an ugly RBBC. What does that stand for? Just tell our less educated viewers.
Running back
by
committee.
Yeah.
And they just picked up Chris Johnson, who they dropped
they had
originally.
Ellington,
A waste of 38, in my opinion.
He's unproven.
And
I've never seen him make a play that made me say, "Wow, that kid has talent."
And if Carson Palmer continues to play like he's the 68-year-old man that he is, all they have to do is shut down the running game. Larry Fitzgerald is old. John Brown has some sickle cell issues in half the games, and J.J. Nelson is shorter than a newborn. So I guess we can add him to the bottom feeders. Mr. Bandy Bandits.
Not an advisable pickup. Just briefly glancing, what else did we have? You actually dug into the old wallet and picked up somebody who I really like.
Might he be a rookie?
He is a rookie.
Might he be for our favorite team in Honolulu Blue?
Yes, in our new Honolulu Blue jerseys.
The one and only Mr. Kenny G. That was the incorrect song. Our speaker died. We're going to continue to play with this, though. Mr. Kenny G. Oh, how we love Mr. Kenny G. Smooth, sexy, brilliant player.
Yeah,
already one of Stafford's favorite. If you don't know, Kenny Galladay is who we're speaking of.
Yeah. Long-bodied, athletic.
And some incredible plays. I mean,
he's the receiver that we've been looking for to stretch the field. We have some good possession receivers. We have Ebron, who doesn't really add anything to our passing offense.
Is that ever going to come about? He's on my bench. I'd love for it to happen. So, I'm excited about him. There's been a lot of hype from the draft when we picked him through preseason and now into week 1. 2 touchdowns. I know one was a bomb and a layout, and you can't expect that, but just an athletic beast. I think he can be a lesser replacement of what we had in Calvin Johnson in that deep ball and that kind of red zone target the Lions always counted on.
And I was texting Matthew Stafford about him, actually, and he gave him his blessing of confidence, and that's huge for a rookie.
It is. And, Stafford deserved every penny of that contract all around that topic. It has been, I believe, of the last 8 games last season and this first game, he has had 7 fourth-quarter comebacks to win the games. I think that's an effect of Mr. JBC, Jim Bob Cooter. And I think it's just a testament to who Stafford is, the kind of person He is, and the leader that every team needs in a quarterback.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So I dropped 13 on him. Not sure if anyone else was bidding, but I figured I've got 2 Lions players that might bust out in Abdullah Express and Mr. Eric Ebron. So I'm hoping to at least have one Lions player.
Ebron is not busting out. Dude.
I sure hope not. I've got a bet with Mr. Underwood, actually, that he will be a top 7 tight end, I believe. So
I'm just going to run through and tell you what everybody else did, just because I know some of our league mates don't know how to navigate the NFL.com site. I'm not going to call anybody out. Chris Carson was picked up by who's Giants take?
Is that Justin? Or no, is that Aditya?
Aditya for 8% of his fab. John over here picked up Javarius Buck Allen.
Who, I like his potential. I think he had a few exciting games last year, never kind of got running, but
he had 21 carries. That's always a sign of good, maybe possible points. 7.7% of his waiver budget for that. Jay got Jermaine Kearse for 5%. I don't understand that pickup.
We'll all roll our eyes in the one, I suppose.
I got Cup for 3.
Love that pick.
Yeah, he looks good. He's playing behind Sammy Watkins and
who I think will become more of that offense. But Tavon Austin continues to become less of a factor, and I think
not worth whatever how many $1 million his owners are paying him.
Thanks to none other than ex-coach, Mr. Fisher.
And then I think that's about it as far as spending goes. The rest were free. Roston got the new kicker for Oakland. Giorgio Tavicchio put up a decent game. I think he put up 18 points in our league.
No news ever about kickers. Who knew Blair Walsh left the Vikings? Who knew Mr. Sebastian Janikowski was no longer on Oakland? They move around kind of willy-nilly. So
there's even one named Young Ho now, right? With the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know.
Something like that. And
kickers are truly an enigma to me.
If you're a kicker, you may as well have a badass name because no one else is paying attention. Yeah, big W for Lions. We always got to touch on that. I think there's real, not only a return to playoff potential. I think there is potential to be the not only NFC North champs. I think we could win a game or two in the playoffs as well, and really show the nation what Detroit is all about.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't really have anything to add to what you just said, other than one pride, defend the den, restore the roar. And speaking of defending the den and restoring the roar, I want to give a big shout out to one of our league mates, Brandon Underwood, was at Mile High Stadium, the Denver Broncos game, repping. Who was he repping?
Mr. 81, Calvin Johnson Jr.
Yeah.
And props to him.
It takes a lot of balls to go into another stadium and wear a jersey that's completely irrelevant to that game.
It does, and he has balls. He gave that stadium and the team a double middle finger, and said to Marius Thomas, "You're never going to be anything that Calvin Johnson was, or what the Lions are going to be." So shout out to Underwood. Hope you're doing well over in Denver. We'd love to see you soon. So come home and visit.
We're gonna have you call into the podcast one of these days.
Absolutely. So, anything else in the news and notes? I've got one last thought, but do you have anything you want to touch on before that?
For news and notes, no.
I want to do a quick conversation about, I believe, 4 or 5 defenses were the top 20 or so scoring, quote-unquote, players this past week 1, if you will, and I don't think that's ever happened in the history of fantasy football.
Wow.
We had, I believe you have the LA Rams. I mistakenly thought I did.
No, they feasted on Tolzien.
Feasted.
I mean, oh my! It was just dinner time. Meats on the menu.
Oh man, it was ugly.
Yeah,
it was ugly. And I mean, I know we said a lot about David Johnson being a big part of Arizona, but is any player bigger to a team than Andrew Luck? I mean,
I don't know. And what was most impressive to me is they did that without Aaron Donald, who is arguably one of the best players in the league.
And a great guy. If you watched last year's Hard Knocks, I mean,
good news is that he'll be back next week. Mm-hmm. What other defenses? The Jags killed it.
The Jaguars.
Unexpectedly.
Are they going to be the sleeper team this year? They look good. It'll be interesting. A big turnaround for them. Panthers, big.
Mr. Kuechly returned one, pick 6.
Debatably the most important defender to a team, I think, in the league. You know, you got the J.J. Watts, got the Aaron Donalds, you got the washed-out Sues, but he is a difference maker.
Donkey Kong Sue.
A few others, kind of forgetting them, but a big week for the defense.
That can truly win you your matchup. And I think in my case it probably did. If a DTO started the Chiefs against me, put up 3 points. My team put up 28 points. 25 points is a huge swing.
Huge. Let's hope this doesn't continue all season because I'd like to see more touchdowns. Week 1, there were 22 touchdowns compared to around, I think, 45 in last year's Week 1. I'd like to see some more. So, moving on so we don't get too long-winded, we've got some closing thoughts, a few more shout-outs for some players in our leagues, starting with our one and only Mr. Ryan Austin, Commissioner. Can't say enough about him. You know, he is the heart and soul of this league. He's kept it going for 7 years, and as much shit as we give him, he's done a fantastic job.
Oh, he's fair with his rulings, prompt with his letting us know about things that are relevant to the league, such as when our dues are owed, when our draft is. He even started doing this power ranking thing.
Weekly power ranking, which I'm very excited about because, we do that here and there, but I think it'll be a little less biased because it's 1 rather than 2 doing the power rankings. And as everyone knows, we think we're the best teams.
He also puts it into an algorithm, crunches numbers, and,
And, while we're at it, we should review his first week's power rankings because there's some interesting little...
All right, let me pull them up. This is verbatim from Commissioner.
Starting at 1, going down?
Yeah, but I always want to let our viewers know how he comes to these rankings because I don't even quite understand it myself. So, these power rankings compile various statistics while considering point score, record, roster strength, consistency, produce overall power rankings to the Jedi Council teams. Roster strength is graded by third party, so that means, what does that mean? Third party. It's not biased. We would be first party.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, it's like...
He's either running it through some type of program online or algorithm, or he's taking it to a few other of his fantasy football experts, which he has a broad and wide contact list of fantasy football experts.
Yeah, I know he does occasionally contribute to the Fantasy Pros ECR rankings.
And he's been
consistently ranked one of the most accurate experts.
I think he's got a top 3 analyst performance for a few weeks last year. So keep it up, Commish.
And he's going to keep doing that, crunching the numbers throughout the week. So, without further ado, power rankings, believe text messages, number 1. I don't know how that happened. I don't really know what the rest of the stuff on here is. It says 11-0. I don't really like that because I don't like expectations of going undefeated.
I believe that is comparing your players against the other teams, though, in that week. So your quarterback beat his quarterback, running back beat his running back.
I think you're right. You're definitely right. So I did have the highest scoring team of week 1.
For those of you who don't know, that is Spock. Leave text messages. There's a few new names that I don't think people have jumped onto yet. So
yeah, just want to take this opportunity to remind the rest of our league mates to update your team names. We like to keep that tradition, it's just fun, shows your creativity, you get to express yourself. A lot of times when we're looking at these teams, they're just a bunch of players on the screen, but then when you add that name, it adds that factor that we can say, Gurley's on Gurley's Gone Wild,
and just an overall pizzazz, if you will, to your team. You look at Team Pup and Suds, and we're kind of like, Pup and Suds are, who cares anymore? It's been 3 years now. Let's find something new. Let's get creative. So keep working on those names. I think a week 3 expectation for everyone to have new names is acceptable.
Yeah.
So for number 2.
So I'm just going to run through this list, and then the other category that looks helpful is ROS. Do you know what that means?
I don't.
Rest of season.
Okay.
So that means going from week 2 all the way to championship. That would be the rest of the season. Number 2 sits my ball sack.
No, my ball Zach Ertz.
My ball Zach Ertz.
No one wants to know about your ball sack.
His His rest of season roster is number 4. I skipped mine. I was number 3. So if my team would be the third best roster. Number 3, Girlies Gone Wild. Rest of season roster, number 7.
Mr. Commish.
Number 4 this week comes Jarvis Take the Wheel. In this software says that he has the number 1 roster for the rest of the season, which I disagree. But what am I? I'm just a human. I'm not a computer.
Dr. Aditya Vergucci.
Mason Chu comes in at number 5 power rankings this week. I'm just going to skip the rest of the season roster. It's stupid.
Yeah. Mr. Redifus Jackson.
Upset Special, number 6.
Mr. Brandon Undy Underwood.
Bandino, probably where he belongs in the bottom half of the rankings, at number 7.
Mr. Bandy Brandon Friedel.
Old Legs and Crap, Colin Wolf, number 8.
Otherwise known as Papa Lobo.
I call this, for some reason, an opportunity in our group chat came up that allowed me to call out his team of 3 years ago, and he responded pretty harshly to me. And I'm still a little bit rattled from that response.
You know, that harshness has been coming a lot. For those of you who don't know, he recently moved to Chicago to take a job with Yelp as I believe, assistant account manager. And it seems like the big city life is taking a toll. He's become a bit of a harsh and somewhat mean person in our group chat. So
I think part of that isn't his fault because you have to be that way in the city. It's, either be assertive or be stepped on. Mm-hmm. And
you live or you die.
He's trying to extend that to us, and we're not really used to that.
And hey, maybe he'll be competitive this year and actually do some waiver wire action, and it'll change him for the best.
We can only hope. Okay, coming at number 9, my co-host, John Dron DeVries.
Otherwise known as Good Morning Gil.
I personally think he should be a little bit higher, but then again, I'm a little bit biased.
And, I understand where it's coming from. I think there are a lot of question marks with a lot of potential. Moving on.
A team has no name. Justin, we were talking about him as something that we'd like to see take the next step because he's kind of in the middle of the pack, and we'd like to see him, be a perennial contender.
Because at the end of the day, we hope success for everyone throughout the years in this league, as competitive as we are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 11. Jay.
Mr. Derulo Glover.
Jay Derulo Glover. I don't know really what to say for his team other than you can use this as inspiration to climb the rankings next week. There's a long way up. And, I think if any manager is capable of improving, you definitely have.
As a previous champion, he has it in him.
He has.
We just haven't seen it since. So.
Okay, and coming in at number 12, and this isn't biased at all. This is computers. So, and we have frequently ranked this league mate lower on our list in the past. So I guess this kind of affirms our gut feelings. We have finally something tangible out there to back us up what we've been saying. So Ryan,
Mr. Ryan on Buff Friedel.
Mr. Ryan on Buff Friedel comes in at the bottom of our power rankings, and I would honestly agree.
Yeah, and it's a shame. I don't know if it's karma because of the team name he's kept for the past 3 years. He's a real close friend of mine, and I hate to see that he's down there, but, I can't disagree with it at the moment. So best of luck to you, Mr. Ryan on Buff Friedel, moving forward. We hope for the best.
Yeah, we do. Now we'll conclude our power rankings.
And while we're on the topic of the commission, we have one last shout out and congratulations to our newlywed, Mr. Ryan and Macy Austin. We celebrated their wedding in April, and it was a blast. An exciting, fun couple. We're excited for him. We hope it doesn't take a toll on his commissioner duties, as well as went on a little too long, as well as his performance in the league. But an exciting marriage and an exciting time for those two.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So as we close out the show, we encourage you guys to send us your ideas, what you hope to see this year, new additions you want. I don't care to hear about your bitching about the length of the show. If that needs to be fixed, we'll address it, and you can come to us personally. But
right, what segments did you like? What segments didn't you like? Again, we do this show for you, for your viewing pleasure. So anything we can do to make that viewing more pleasurable, we will make appropriate adjustments.
Absolutely. And for those of you who would like to be a possible guest on the show, please reach out to us. We've got a bit of a wait list, but definitely not a season-long wait list. So, come to us, tell us what you'd like to talk about, give us your ideas for what you would partake in if you're on the show, and, hopefully we can add you to the list and get you on one of the episodes.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to have at least everybody in the league out on if you can't be to the DraftKings studio, we'd love to have you call in. That works too.
Yeah, we know a lot of you are not necessarily Grand Rapids based. Granada, we got one in, one's in Denver, another in Chicago. So we understand that you can't come in and make it, but we always accept call-ins.
Lastly, I think we should thank the folks that allow us to be doing this show, our sponsors, who we are very grateful for their support, both financially, emotionally.
And, it's easy to support such great sponsors. They, not only from the sport you touched on, but just reputable and conscientious companies in general. So it makes it easy for us.
Right. When they're doing everything that they can to make the world a better place, we can definitely get behind that. All
have had great efforts in Hurricane Irma and providing support and funds for them. So
we're just going to start out by thanking the Nantucket Bakery. Delicious, delicious baked goods.
Maybe the best in Greater Grand Rapids, if not West Michigan. For those of you who haven't been. I've gained weight because I go there far too often.
Right.
And yeah, please go support fresh bread, fresh pastries,
friendly staff,
just a great atmosphere. Next on the list is another somewhat local Indiana, Angola-based group. They are the most recent national champions of bass fishing. Our Angola Bassmasters, as you can see on my jersey and Spock's trucker hat. New sponsor this year.
Yep.
They came to us kind of off the cuff, and
our wardrobe was provided with their courtesy.
So look them up, support however you can. We can get you gear if you'd like. They're fun, and if you want to try out for the fishing team, help. We know Ross and Noah are pretty damn good at that.
We have DraftKings, obviously. They're our main sponsor. This is the third thank you that we are going to give them, but I deserve many, many more thank yous.
Almost
just
an
because
entire episode.
we may just have a special episode where we just plug DraftKings because they're that. We appreciate their partnership. Let's just leave it at that.
And last but not least, one of our favorite beverages, libations, otherwise known as Heineken.
Yeah. Great tasting beer, perfect to drink with your friends. Unfortunately, we didn't have any in the studio, so we had to cover up this beer. You may be able to guess what it is, but it's not Heineken.
But we did get in contact with their spokesperson, Neil Patrick Harris, and we should have a few cases to enjoy while we're on the show for the next few episodes. And interesting, I mean, we both experienced the Heineken experience. That's redundant. While we studied abroad in Amsterdam, and we sent them a few of our ideas, and they immediately came back and said we would love to sponsor the show. So it's been a fun partnership so far. So with that, we want to thank you guys for viewing. We're excited for the season. We hope to continue to get you guys a weekly podcast episode. Yeah.
We're going to end the show with how we started. A little bit of...
Remember, if you guys enjoy, please share and or like our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter pages. We encourage a broader viewership, and I think we can benefit more than just our league.
Subscribe to our channel. Mash that like button.